Good morning everyone, or good evening wherever you are in the world. Delighted to be with you again today, and thank you very much for tuning in either live or to the replay of this really important topic, very close to my heart. And I am really looking forward to getting stuck into it with 3 reasons why teaching lead sheets is essential in your studio. But not just that, I'm going to be giving away a fantastic download all about chords. And I'm also going to be sharing some pretty cool pictures of me when I was a bit younger in action at the piano and doing musical things, just to give a little bit of background to why I'm so passionate about this whole idea of lead sheet teaching. So if you are joining us on the call live, do say hi. Always delighted to see who's around. And we'll wait just a couple of minutes for some people to trickle in. And letting you know, just as a couple of updates, the podcast, of course, for season 3 has gone live last week, actually, with our first episode with Aaron Garner from Piano Marvel, all about practice. It's created some great comments on social media so far, so do check that one out if you haven't already had a listen. And coming up this Friday, I've got 2 good friends of mine from the UK, who many of you will know, I'm sure, the Curious Piano Teachers. Sally and Sharon from the Curious Piano Teachers, talking about their new diploma course for teachers. So do tune into that. As always, podcasts are released Friday around 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, the easiest and simplest way to keep in touch with all of those kinds of things that I'm doing is just download my app. Free app. Just search for Tim Topham if you haven't already got it in the App Store, and you'll be able to grab that. I've been really interested too recently. There's just been more and more podcasts popping up. I don't know if you've noticed it as well. I was just looking through my list before. Music Studio Startup has begun recently. We've of course got Music Lesson Business Academy with my friend Danny Thompson. The Musicality podcast with another friend of mine, Christopher Sutton. The Vibrant Music Teachers podcast has just launched. That's with Nicola, another good friend of mine and colleague, and Teacher Zone as well. And Teacher Zone have got a podcast now. They also have music studio software. So there's a lot of podcasts out there now for music teachers and musicians. It's very, very cool. And if you're not into podcasts yet, then, well, I don't know what you're waiting for. Tune in, because that is such a great way to learn while you're doing something else. Literally, I've learned so much by listening to podcasts. And it's interesting too, the rise of audiobooks now. I don't know if any of you guys are into audiobooks, but it seems to be the way that things are going. More and more people listening to books rather than reading them, because again, you can do it while you're doing other things, which is pretty cool. I'm just keeping an eye on Bronson, who's hopefully not going to make too much noise. He's over in the corner over here. That's my cat, if you haven't met him. No doubt he'll pop up on screen at some inconvenient moment. So lovely to see some people tuning in. Thank you very much. Lisa, I can see Michael, Heather as well. Great to see you, Heather. Seen you've been asking lots of questions in the forums recently. Tony's on the Cranbourne line between Caulfield South and South Yarra. Awesome, Tony. That's so good. Miranda and Kate, morning to all of you guys, or evening. So today's focus is all about lead sheets, and I'm a really passionate advocate of the importance of teaching lead sheets to our piano students. So I'm going to give you 3 good reasons today why, and I've actually got 9 really good reasons, and I'm actually going to be sharing them in 3 blocks of 3 over the next few weeks. So stay tuned for more. This is just the first 3. And as I said, I'm going to be giving away this download, which I'll let you know how to grab a little bit later on. It's all about chords, and it's all interrelated with the learning that I believe students both enjoy a lot and gain a lot from when it comes to lead sheets. So just a little bit of background, I'm really passionate about creating all-rounder piano students in my studio. So students that can really be thrown into just about any situation and will be able to hold their own. So they could be playing in a band, or asked to accompany another instrument, or they could be asked to play in their school jazz band, or whatever it is, that they would be able to, while they might need some help, they'd be able to jump in and go, you know what, I think I know what I'm doing here. That's the kind of student that I'm really passionate about developing in my lessons, and that's why I always come back to what I think is the lowest common denominator when it comes to these skills of being a really good all-rounder pianist. It all comes back to chords, and having students with an understanding of chords and chord progressions and how they work. because it really is the foundation of so much of what we do today. And I think the best way to actually learn about chords is to do it through, well, obviously you need to actually learn how to form chords and put them together, but then actually explore chord progressions through lead sheet playing. And I think that's what I really, really love to do. And what I'm going to help you with today and in the course of the next few weeks, when we release a couple more Facebook Lives about these reasons and backgrounds to lead sheet playing. And this is all leading up to my most exciting announcement, which is that if you haven't heard already, I'm running a live free webinar on the 27th of August this month with Forrest Kinney, who has created some incredible resources for us all to share in. So there'll be more details about that coming up soon. But in the meantime, let's get to my essential reasons why piano lead sheets are so important. Actually, just a little bit more background about me and why I'm so passionate about that. I promised that I'd share some couple of photos with you. I actually went back through and had a look at some of the things that I used to do as a teenager with regard to the piano that was way outside of what most students would probably do. And so while my teacher did teach me to read music and how to perform, she also let me learn pretty much anything that I wanted to, and she gave me so much feedback and positive support when I went off and started composing or started wanting to play jazz or whatever it was. She might not have had all the skills, but she was so supportive. And so I ended up, so this is, I'll show you this little photo. So this is a photo of me at the piano. You see that? In the bow tie. Isn't that cute? I was about 16 here, and I was accompanying a live cabaret show at my school. It was actually in memory of a building that they were about to pull down. There was a performing arts building because they were about to build a massive new one. So that was me at the piano, again about 16, just thrown in, sight read, yep, we'll give it a shot. Here's a photo of me just a touch earlier. So this is me, can you see me there? Look at that hair, how about that? So this is me accompanying the full school choir at my school as an 18-year-old. So I was in year 12, and the normal person who would accompany was unable to do it for whatever reason, and so I was asked to fill in. So I'm like, yep, all right, I'll give it a shot. And there's me accompanying the full school choir. And lastly, after I finished school, so I'm about 18 in this photo, here's me conducting my first musical, which was the fantastic Grease, done by Lord Summerscamp and Powerhouse down here in Melbourne. So that's me as an 18-year-old conducting my first musical. And I think all of these skills and the ability for me to accompany and with confidence sight read and play for other people and then move on to even conducting an orchestra when I had no experience in that, all came down to this confidence that I had with being able to understand chords and harmony and progressions and be able to read really easily, pretty much, right? It came down to a really strong sight reading ability. But I'll tell you what, the only reason I'm a good sight reader is because I can fudge it really well. Does anyone else feel that? If you're a good sight reader, is it quite a lot about guessing? For me, it is. People have been really impressed by my sight reading ability if they only knew how few notes I was actually playing of what was written. But the thing is, I can make it sound really good, and I can keep in time, and I can give it feeling and vibe, and I can get away with it. So all of that, again, just comes back to me being able to see music as more than just a jumble of dots. It's, for me, all about patterns and chord shapes. So I can see a couple of thumbs up coming through and some notes as well from people. So thank you very much for popping your comments in too. That's great. Julie says, my kids love lead sheets. Yeah, it just gives them so much more flexibility with things that they can do. So that's great. All right, so reason number one, that lead sheets are essential. Reason number one is it's essential for students if they're ever going to play in a band or particularly a worship situation, so if they're going to play in their church. Because all those kind of bands and worship situations will all be about reading lead sheets. Now, I should probably just clarify, what are we talking about when we come to lead sheets, just in case anyone's watching and going, I've got no idea what Tim's talking about today. So here's a couple of examples of a lead sheet. So this is an example of, which way shall I go? This way. A jazz lead sheet from one of the, what we call a fake book of jazz. So literally melody, and chord symbols written above. Here's an example of For Elise written as a lead sheet. How about that? So as you can see, no left hands, and so that's obviously something that you need to explore with students about what they're actually going to do with their left hand. And this one, so this, now if you have a look at this isn't officially a lead sheet. This is Love Is All Around, what a classic, written in piano vocal style. So there's a vocal line at the top and then piano below. But the great thing here is that you can read this and you can teach your students to read this as a lead sheet. All they need to do, follow the chords here and play the melody that would be sung here if they're not going to sing. And if they are going to sing the song, then they can just play the chords. It's even easier. So that's what I'm talking about with regard to lead sheets. And so if students are going to ever play in a band comfortably, this could be a jazz band at school, it could be a concert band or even an orchestra. So often times orchestra parts are written out, but particularly for any kind of small band work, they're going to need to know how to play lead sheets, because that's how that world revolves. It's all based on lead sheets. You'll never, well, very, very rarely will you ever get a jazz band or any kind of band coming together with a full notated score for the pianist. It just doesn't happen. So your students, if you ever want to have them with the skill to be able to play in a situation like that and just be able to go, oh yeah, I know what to do here, then lead sheets is something that I would strongly encourage you to consider teaching. Okay, now reason number 2, and I think you're going to like this one, maybe a little bit more unexpected, but it will help you if you have YouTubers in your studio. So what do I mean by YouTubers? Well, I mean those kids that consistently go and learn things on YouTube and then come in and are very excited to be able to play it for you. Well, hopefully they're excited to play it for you because you've been very positive about having them do that. I would hope to think that, I'd like to think that all the people listening would be very open to have students learning things on YouTube, coming in and being very positive about it, because let's face it, YouTube is here to stay. It's also a way that probably you, and certainly I, learn a lot of stuff myself. And if I want a bit of a tutorial about something online or that I need help with, well, I'll probably go to YouTube as well. So do consider that when it comes to YouTube. The reasons why I think that lead sheet work can help with your YouTubers is because if your students are able to play one of those video game pieces or a pop song using lead sheets, then they're going to find that it's a hell of a lot easier and a lot faster to play using the written score as a lead sheet rather than following a tutorial with those, you know what they're like, with the notes kind of falling down, or they've got to try and play it at the right time. So if you can encourage them to see that music notation isn't just about, well, have I got an example? You know, this, two hands having to play at the same time, that's not what music notation is all about. There's different types. And if you can help them learn that lead sheets are a fantastic shortcut to being able to play some of this more popular music. Sorry, I thought I'd lost you for a sec. Then that is a great way to go, and it will hopefully encourage them to move away from the YouTube a little bit. Alright, so that's my reason number 2. Reason number 3, how about this one? And I would love to find out if any of you are in this boat. Reason number 3 is skills with chords, an ability to read and play in bands and accompany, gives our students the best chance of making a living, or at least getting some income from their piano studies when they get older. And I know this firsthand. I'd love to hear. Pop in the comments if you, as a late teenager, early 20-something, was able to earn any money from your piano playing because of some skills that you had that perhaps other music students didn't have. So I look back and I think, yes, I was paid to conduct bands and play in musical theatre roles, particularly as an audition accompanist. Now, I don't know if anyone's done that job, but that is a tough job. That needs some serious sight reading ability. You will get, I'd do perhaps a day of auditions, exhausting work. People would come in and say, here's what I'm singing. You would get sort of a minute with them to just kind of work out how fast it is, and hopefully you'll know the song or be able to sight read it pretty well. And then they go on stage and bang, you've got to play for them and make them sound as good as they possibly can. And yes, I did have some fails doing that. Sometimes, you know, if I had no idea what the music was or it was too hard, it wouldn't go so well. But on the whole, I wasn't too bad at doing that. Again, that's a skill that I had from being able to read chord charts and being able to simplify things down to chords. So did anyone else have that that kind of same situation when they were learning piano? Maybe their teacher gave you the skill to be able to understand that kind of approach to chord learning. If so, let me know. I'd be delighted to find out what they did and the impact that it had, because again, I just think it was so crucial in my own upbringing and the reason why I still play today and I love doing it. The other thing is, a chord knowledge like that, yes, it will help you earn a living, but it helps kids be able to compose their own music. And I was obsessed with synthesizers when I was a teenager. They were pretty new technology back then. I still remember when the Fairlight came out, and that was the first ever sampling synthesizer. So I'm a little bit old, I feel now. But the reason I love synthesizers so much is I could make up my own music, and I did it all, again, with chords. You know, having a synth in your house and playing some Bach on it isn't really cool. You would use the piano for that. So that's another thing that you could consider. There you go, you got 4 today. I wasn't even planning to introduce that one. Heather says yes on number 3. Yeah, making a living. So, quick summary before I tell you about this really good download and how you can grab it. Essential for playing in bands. If your student if there's ever a chance that they might, and pretty much that's yes to all our students, we should be, again, creating all-rounders so they can step into this role if they wanted to. Essential for band work. Number 2 was helping them realise that there's more than one way to read music, and maybe YouTube tutorials aren't as fast as if I learn about some chords in lead sheets, and making a living. So giving them those skills to be able to be really good at versatility and also sight reading so that they can play and hopefully make some money from it. I also played when I was 19 in a restaurant. Did any of you guys do that? Cocktail music in a restaurant? I mean, the least loved kind of line of work for most pianists, but I was paid really well compared to, you know, stacking shelves in a supermarket. It was a good bit of pay. So there you go. They're my 3 reasons for today, and I can see a few people making comments, and thank you very much for the thumbs up and the hearts. Really love reading, seeing those come through. I'm just having a look at what Heather said here. Opportunities with him in church. Yeah, so opportunities with her dad in church, all about chord charts and lead sheets to look at. Or sometimes nothing. Yeah, exactly. It's like, all right, you're the pianist, we're playing in B flat, let's go. It's like, okay. I want my students to be able to know what to do in that circumstance. All right, so today's freebie is called My Easy Chord Progressions to Inspire Creativity. So really the process, and we'll be going through this a little bit more later on, the process for getting to lead sheets, really the first thing is students need to know how to form a chord shape and play major and minor chords, and understand that there are certain shapes on the piano that all chords fit into. So that's kind of point number 1. The second thing is that if you want your students to actually practice playing chords, then you need to give them a musical construct to put them in. And so that's where playing some chord progressions can really help. So I'm going to demonstrate just a couple of these for you now and show you what it looks like. And if you would like to grab a copy, all you need to type is easy in the comments, and my little chat bot will send that to you. So here's what the new download looks like. Oh, and by the way, if you ever had this one, so this was the original version of this, one of my first ever downloads that I put out. So this is the one that we've updated. It's gone from about 3 pages to 9. And this is the kind of thing that you get in this download. So there are 4 chord progressions, and then there's some longer ones a little bit later on. So I'll play through a couple of these so you can get a feeling for it. And I have to thank Tom Donald, who came on my adult teaching webinar. He was an absolute superstar. He runs a piano school in London, and he has contributed some of these to this download. So thank you to Tom if you're watching. So here's an example of just a couple of these. I use a lot of slash chords because students totally love them. I'm going to use the pedal, keep a steady beat, and this is a kind of that's chord progression number 1. Nice and easy. It's really simple. The left hand's actually just staying on C, and we're just playing a variety of slash chords through there. Here's one in D flat. I quite like the sound of this one as well. It's kind of reminiscent to me of some of those old sort of 70s, 80s musicals, but without being so daggy. So you get the idea. There's a couple of the shorter ones, which and I use these as warm-ups quite often with my students, particularly the older students. They really enjoy just sitting down and playing some of these chord progressions straight up. And then later on, there's a few longer ones as well. So here's an example of one of the longer progressions. That one's all in A minor. And I also throw in, I think there's a jazz one somewhere here. Yeah, so there's a jazz one here, and they get a little bit more complicated later on. So this one here at the top includes some major sevenths and things like that. But what I find with students, you don't necessarily need to explain all of that right at the start. You can introduce them slowly, and quite often with my students, we might start learning a pop song of some sort, and they will suddenly come across some weird symbol in the chords or a chord type they don't know about, and that's when we can introduce it. And many of you will know how much I love suspensions, for example, with students. Students love this kind of sound. As do I, which is why I like teaching it. So here's a more jazzy one with major sevenths. Oh, my cat's arrived. Here we go. Anyway, so with students, they don't need to know about jazz or understand how it works or anything like that. You can just play through some of these progressions, and as long as they can form some triads in their hands, bang, they can make music really, really easily. And I think that is such an important part of this whole idea of being able to play with chords, is because you can get really great sounds without having to sit and study music for a long time in the process. So there you go. Great to see lots of easies coming through. So if you want to grab that, just type easy in the comments there, and you can get that copy. If you used to use this one, then you can probably chuck that one out and replace it with the new version. And for my InnerCircle members, that will be up in our resource library this week. If it's not already, I think it might be there already. So look, I hope today was useful. Thank you so much for joining me. Absolute delight to hang out with you. And I am really, as you know, I'm really passionate about particularly this style of teaching for students, and for helping you guys, the fantastic piano teachers out there, be more confident in this approach, because I know that's not something that many of us experienced as students ourselves. And so knowing a bit of a step-by-step process about how to introduce this can be really, really important and really valuable. So next week, I'm going to go live again, one day later than today, but at the same time. So it'll be my Wednesday, if you're in Europe or America, Tuesday evening. That's on the 15th of August. And I'm going to cover another 3 giveaways, another 3 reasons why I believe lead sheets are essential. And I have got another giveaway. And this giveaway is one that's all about what on earth to do with the left hand when students are playing lead sheets, because that is often the missing piece, because there's nothing actually written really apart from a chord. So you can put the chord in the left hand, play the melody, but it's only going to work for a little while before it gets a little bit boring. So we need some variety about what we can do in that left hand, and that is what the giveaway next week is going to cover. So if you've got any questions about my approach to teaching chords, or how to use the chord progression sheet, then let me know. You can always, whether you're watching this live or watching the replay, you can pop a comment in the box, the comment box there. And again, if you're an InnerCircle member, not only do you have access to the download without having to worry about typing easy in here, but I've also got a video in there about how I teach these. So just actually playing through them and showing you what I do with rhythm and how to get students to feel and play them musically, because a set of four chords on their own without rhythm, that's not really that musical. So always thinking about music, and then of course you can take it a step further, and I totally love playing a chord progression like this and helping my student be able to create a melody over the top, so doing some improvising. So I hope that was helpful. As I say, really great to hang out with you. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next week, almost the same time, same place, just one day later, and I'll talk through some more great ideas about lead sheets and also give you one more giveaway. So looking forward to seeing you then. Bye everyone, have a great day and the rest of the week ahead.